This is a series where we take real-life work from home setups and we optimize them for movement and ergonomics. Today we're going to be taking a look at my own setup and showing you how to make it better. Now, if this were a client's space, there are definitely some changes I would make. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I would say that overall my workspace is fairly typical of a lot of work from home setups, and I have one main display with a laptop placed on top of my desk. And I use a standing desk with an adjustable shelf, but that only really works if you've designed your desk to be usable in both positions. Unfortunately, I haven't done that. Right now I'm using a Logitech G305 gaming mouse, which is great because it is light and wireless. I've always found it super annoying that every time I shop online, I have to remember to apply a coupon code if there is one. Otherwise, I feel like I am missing out on some kind of discount that I might be entitled to. But for work, I find myself wanting something with a larger screen real estate. That's why I paired it with a Dell U7 to OQ as my secondary. It doesn't have as many features as something like a Stella, but it gets the job done. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this one and if you want to see more episodes like it. If you're interested in getting your setup featured on the show, be sure to submit it through the link in the description. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Behind me, I have a Philips Hue playbar and the Philips Hue lights, which I use to give some accent lighting to the wall behind me. The thing I like about this monitor is that it is quite thin and has minimal bezels, so it doesn't stick out too much and obstruct the view of my main monitor. As for mounting it to my desk, I'm using the Northby F1-6A, which is a decent arm, but it can't rotate vertically. If I was buying this again, I would just opt for a different arm that allows for vertical rotation and maybe even a bit of tilt. With Honey, you do never have to worry about that because it automatically finds and applies any available coupon codes at checkout. You can even earn cash back on select orders. All you have to do is install the Honey extension and then go to your favorite stores such as Nike, Sephora, or Best Buy. You can even earn 3% cash back on Amazon purchases. Now there's no reason not to at least try it out for yourself. But I've been wanting to try out a mouse with a wider shape for gaming since I find that I tend to palm grip it pretty hard. Now this isn't ideal for a few reasons. Not only does it just look messy, but loose cables can also be a safety hazard. If you've ever walked across a room and accidentally tripped on a cable, you know exactly what I mean. To fix this, I am going to be running my cables through these Velcro cable straps and then attaching them to the underside of my desk. An alternative to this would be to use something like a cable tray, which would give you a much cleaner look. But you do have to make sure that you get one that fits underneath the lip of your desk. For work though, I'd much rather be using the Logitech MX Master 3 South, which has excellent ergonomics and fantastic tracking. But there's a big problem, and that's the fact that I have this ugly desk mat. See, desk mats are great because they give you a consistent surface to precisely track your mouse. But unfortunately, they're also very difficult to match with the aesthetic of your desk setup. I've had this one for years and it shows. Now thankfully Artisan Zero has sent over one of their new desk pads which uses a different material than traditional desk mats in order to solve a lot of the issues that people have with mouse tracking. These pads are made out of polymer and they include a polymer base in order to reduce friction. The benefit of this is that you'll get incredibly accurate tracking across a large surface area, but you'll still have plenty of control for flicking and micro adjustments. Now, when it comes to the feel, these pads offer a unique textureless experience. It is almost like using a really smooth glass surface except with just enough grip to keep your mouse from sliding around. So far, it's been a huge improvement over my old desk mat, and honestly, it looks way better too. Plus, thanks to its thinner design, it hasn't interfered with my keyboard or monitor at all. They send over the pads in different sizes, and depending on the size of your desk, you may not even need a pad this big. So check the dimensions before ordering, because right now, when I switch to a standing position, I have to lean over quite a bit in order to see my monitor and use my peripherals. Now, a very quick and easy fix would be to simply just raise the monitor higher than you normally would if you were just sitting down, and that would work well enough. But I really want to make the most out of this standing position, so I'm actually going to swap in a second monitor. Now you may be asking, why not just use a single ultra-wide monitor that you can easily move up and down? Well, there are two reasons for this. One is that I've already got a mount for my primary monitor, and I really don't feel like drilling any new holes anytime soon. But the other reason is that using dual monitors is actually going to help with my posture. See, our eyes actually love lines, and we naturally tend to focus our gaze on points where lines intersect. So by placing the monitors side by side, I am creating these visual anchors that will draw my eyes towards them and prevent me from leaning too far forward. It also helps that my mouse is over here on the left-hand side, which will require me to keep my shoulders pulled back in order to reach it. Overall, I would say that using dual monitors is probably the single biggest ergonomic upgrade that you can make to your home office. The monitor height is far too low, and that's something that I often see in home offices. I think part of the problem here is that people do realize that they should have their entire arm resting on the desk when using the mouse. This can be really easy to see in photos like this, where you can see that I have my elbow way out in front of me and even my shoulder kind of pushed out here. Ideally, I want to keep that shoulder directly underneath my mouse so that I am keeping my entire arm in line from my shoulder down to my fingertips. And since I am using a mouse that is designed to track with your palm on top of it, I should ideally be tracking it with my entire arm. If you're interested in learning more about mice like this, I did a full video covering them last week. But for now, all you need to know is that I want to bring my mouse up closer to the same level as my keyboard so that my arms will rest comfortably on the desk while I am typing and using the mouse. The easiest way to do this is to either raise your keyboard or lower your monitor. Since I prefer a lower monitor height for gaming, I'm going to be raising my keyboard instead. A simple and cheap solution could be to grab something like a stack of books and place it under your keyboard to raise it up. But I think a better option would be to get yourself a keyboard tray. There are some inexpensive options on Amazon, but if you really want to get fancy, you can get one that allows you to adjust the tilt of your keyboard, which will allow you to open up your posture and reduce muscle strain. Alright, so right off the bat, I think it's pretty clear what the first change needs to be. Okay, so one of the biggest perks of having a sit-stand desk is the ability to alternate between sitting and standing throughout the day. Speaking of my mouse, I think it's time for an upgrade. Now, before we continue, I'd like to take a moment to thank Honey for sponsoring this episode. So another thing that I notice when looking at this setup is that I have a bunch of cables that are just hanging off the side of my desk. Now let's talk about my monitor choices. My main monitor is the LG G7GN950, which is an excellent gaming monitor with a great feature set. As for lighting, I am using a bank screen bar, which is a solid choice if you do want to spend much money. Well, I think that about covers it for this episode of Setups Optimized.